What's up, guys? So I know I'm pretty new to YouTube and stuff, but I don't have the best recording equipment. This is pretty raw, taken with a Google Pixel cell phone, and I just want to share the excitement I just got in the mail. A brand new Alesis Strata Prime drum kit, and I'm pretty excited to pretty freaking excited to get this in the mail. I've been spending the last like 5 or 6 months. I haven't had my first electric kit that I had when I was young actually is when the Roland TD6, when they came out. This is like, I don't know, in like 2004 or something like that, 2003, 2004, 2005. So it's almost 20 years ago now, and these kits were great. And when I got that, I was like, whoa, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, this electric drum kit is just amazing. And I started playing drums when I was, I think, 10 years old or something like that. So I've been playing for, I don't know, 27 years. It's hard. And it's, yeah, it feels crazy to say that it's been that long. I'm not really that great of a drummer, but for the amount of years that I've been practicing, there are people on YouTube and stuff that have been practicing for maybe a fifth of that amount, and they'll drum circles around me. Like, I'm a slow learner, and I'm still learning, but been through a lot in the last few years. And I used to play in a lot of bands, and I used to play out in the bars. And at one point, I live in Moncton, New Brunswick, and I was playing in like, there's like a little music scene here. I wouldn't call it like a big music scene. There's not a lot going on in the music scene here. It's like all the same guys play all the same shows, and they have like the monopoly on like the bar scene here. Like, it's all the same group of guys that play all the venues and stuff, and then you have a little like a punk rock, thrash metal, extreme metal scene here. And they'll have shows in that like specific venues. And so I played in a few bands. Like, I started off playing in a extreme metal band called Discord, and I played with them for like 2 years and so. And then I started playing with like cover bands, and I would start to get around, and people would find out that I played drums, and started playing in cover bands. And we played a tribute to a death, Chuck Schuldiner. So in that Discord band, we would also always do like a death tribute to Chuck Schuldiner, and we would always play a song or two every set that we play, and that was a lot of fun. And also played in a Primus tribute band. That was a lot of fun too. But I had a problem. I'd always like, I laugh about it now but it's still sucks that things went the way that they did. But I had an alcohol problem and a drug problem, and I would always get too messed up. And I would try my best not to get too messed up before the shows, and I do pretty well. But I started to get known for like getting messed up, like sometimes before the show, and I'd play like, and I'd fumble a few things, and just brush it off the rug. And it sucks because I was given a gift of playing drums, and I kind of poured it down the drain, right? In that sense. So anyway, long story short, by the grace of God, I ended up cleaning myself up, and still, like, when when you basically ruin your reputation in the music scene in a small place like this, nobody's gonna nobody nobody's gonna touch you ever again. So my only chance for me to get into a music scene again would be to move to another city, a bigger city. Because I grew up in a really small town called Rogersville, New Brunswick, and there's like 2,000 people there. So I was like, when I was younger, I was like, I'm gonna follow my dreams and be a drummer and move to the big city. And I was like, Moncton. Back then, like, Moncton was like super huge for me. I was like, whoa, Moncton. And so I moved to Moncton, and I was working doing masonry. And I know this, I'm dragging this out, but I just feel like I have to tell this story now that I'm on here, because might as well, right? And I know probably nobody's gonna watch this because this is like the third or fourth video that I'm posting. But if somebody watches it, probably, like, I don't know. Maybe they'll care. Maybe they won't care. Who cares? But yeah, I was gonna move to Moncton and be like, yeah, man, join a band, play, get in the music scene, and start a career, play drums. And I was like, yeah, follow my dreams. I came to Moncton and started applying for some bands and stuff, and started playing a lot. And I was just basically like the old school way, where the internet wasn't like super popular back then. It was more like in 2005, 2006, and like my dog's butt, 2006 or whatever. And there was a place called Moncton Music Stop, and that's where I would go to get my music gear and stuff. And they had and the doorways, they'd always have like these pieces of papers with people looking for like musicians and stuff. And there's like guitarist, bass player wanted, whatever, singer, drummer, whatever wanted. And there was this drummer ad wanted, and it was all handwritten on a piece of paper, which was pretty awesome. You wouldn't see that now in 2024, but it was all handwritten on a piece of paper, and then phone numbers, all handwritten one by one in little tear off slots. And like, take scissors and they cut it in between the numbers, so you can like take the number off and then give it a call. And that's how I got into my first band. That's basically what snowballed into meeting, like, I don't know, hundreds of musicians around town and around Moncton. And Moncton, like, felt like it was getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, which now, like, you can literally, like, with the perception that I have now compared to back in before I moved to Moncton, it's like you can drive around the city in 15 minutes. It's basically a tiny little place. And even more so when you drive across Canada, and you drive through Toronto, and you drive through Winnipeg, and you drive through Edmonton, and you drive through Calgary, and you drive whatever, and you see all the like bigger and bigger and bigger cities, and you're like, you get back to Moncton, and like, you're like, whoa, Moncton is like super tiny. And everybody knows each other here, so if you make too many mistakes, everybody's gonna know. But that's whatever, that's the way it is. You can't do nothing about it. But anyway, getting back to the story of this, like the Strata Prime. I was actually gonna get another roll in. I was like, I practice in my house now, so since I cleaned myself up, I actually was, this is a long story that I'm probably gonna make for another video. I was working at somebody's house. I do ceramic tile now, so I went from doing masonry to ceramic tiles, which is basically the same thing. You're just, instead of putting squares on the wall, you're putting squares on the floor with cement. And they brought me to a Pentecostal church I'm not gonna make this whole post about religion or trying to convert you to Christianity or whatever, but this is the story. And I was raised in a very, like, Rogersville is a very Catholic town, so I knew about I know about religion. I just didn't like study it or whatever. I didn't like dive headfirst into it and get obsessed with it. I just did whatever in life. And anyways, they brought me to this church, and I was still struggling, but I was like on my way to getting clean. I was using prayer to seek God for help in whatever way, however that's gonna look. Because I was at a bar down the street from my house, and I was always going there. I was like a regular, like going there and drinking like almost 3 or 4 times a week just to go socialize with people. And especially during the lockdown, and I've been through a lot of things in relationships too, that I've been single for like 7 years or whatever. So I sometimes I just crave fellowship with people. I just crave communion, to be in community with people. I don't even care who they are, what they believe, or whatever. I don't care. I just want to be around people. I just love it. Even if I don't have to say anything or do anything, I just like to be around people. And anyways, I would always go there to like just to find somebody to talk to, just to whatever, shoot the shiz. But I would always end up drinking and gambling, and I would end up doing drugs, and I was addicted to opioids, and I won't go into all the names of all the drugs that I've done because I've pretty much done them all. And one night I was like very upset, and I drank too much, and I gambled away like a very large amount of money. I think it was like close to $1,000, $800, and would have been like $800 with the gambling and the spending on the booze and the cigarettes and the marijuana and all that. All right, it's not made for kids, okay? I should have warned you before the start. But on the way home, I was very upset, and I was very depressed, and wasn't thinking straight, having negative thoughts. And there's a church. I don't know if it's a Baptist church or a Presbyterian church. I don't know what the denomination is. I never went inside. But it was like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I was walking home just depressed. And I ended up on the front lawn of that church, and I was like, fell on my knees and just cried out to God. Like, I can't keep living like this anymore. Like, I need help. And if you're real, I need your help. And I ended up crying on the front lawn there, and I sobbed for a bit. And it's after I was done doing that, felt a little bit better, kind of felt sober, and I walked the rest of the way home. And in the weeks coming after that, a bunch of stuff just started to change. Like, I started running into people, and nobody has ever evangelized me before that. And I never really got into like deep conversations about God and our existence, and why are we here, like stuff like that. And all of a sudden I started having these conversations with people, and I was like, this is interesting. So I ended up in a place where I was doing work, and they were I know I'm really going off the path here, but I promise I'm gonna land this plane here somewheres. And they I was working on a Sunday, and they were like, "I'm so glad that you're here on a Sunday. Like, not everybody wants to work Sundays, but thank you for coming in because we gotta get this done. And like, you coming in today is gonna help us next week to get things done faster. Because I was doing floors, and you can't do anything else before the floors are done." And I was like, I didn't want to be there whatsoever, and I kind of like, in a mean but in like a truthful way, I was like, don't thank me, like thank God that I'm here because I don't want to be here one bit. And the person said, "Oh, you believe in God?" I was like, "Of course I do. I believed in God since I can remember, since I was a kid. I was raised on God. Like, I know, I don't really know anything else. Like, I just can't not believe in God. Like, I've tried, I can't. It just doesn't feel right to me. Anyways, and I went to this church, and it's called the Glad Tidings Church. It's a Pentecostal church, and I only found out it was a Pentecostal church after like 3 or 4 months that I went. I was like, this is a church. These people are cool. It's good fellowship. It's a good community. Feels great. And I just kept going, and they had these services on Friday nights a lot, and that was pretty cool because on Friday nights I'd always like shoot to the bar first thing after work. So instead I started going there, and that really helped me to change the trajectory of my life. And after a couple of years that I was going there, people started finding out that I played drums. So they eventually got me on drums on the worship team there. They've got a beautiful, wonderful setup for music there, and they've got an auditorium slash sanctuary. I like to call it the sanctuary because it sounds more holy, or whatever you want. And yeah, I started playing drums there, and I started getting pretty busy in the church playing drums. And I still have to work, mind you, because like I do all that voluntarily. Like, so I still have to work to pay the bills. So, anyways, and I practice a lot at home. And when I was always drinking and stuff, I couldn't care less. I was like, yeah, drums, super loud, and I didn't care. I was just like always high all the time, and I was like slamming the drums, couldn't care less about anything. But now I'm more aware because being sober, you're playing a lot, practicing a lot, and you're more aware, and your mind is like more like my neighbors are literally like not even, I don't know, 20 feet away from me. We share a driveway, so I start to be mindful about the neighbors, like practicing all the time and super loud. And I sometimes it like, I'm like, man, I get tired of hearing myself. Like, this is loud all the time, like always practicing, practice. Sometimes I'll go over the same lick over and over and over, like a same 30-second section of a song. And I'm thinking, my neighbors must be friggin' annoyed by this. Although I only had complaints like a couple of times since I've been living here. And I've asked the neighbors, and they're like, yeah, it's okay, you can practice. But like, I know they want to be nice, like, and then I want to be respectful to my neighbors at the same time. So it's been like half a year. I've been thinking about getting a knee kit, and I've been doing research on it, research. And I was finding some, every once in a while there would have been like a rolling VAD, either a 506 or a 507 or a 706 that would come on, and they're quite pricey. And I went to try them. So they had one on display at Long and McQuaid at in Moncton here locally, and I was trying it and trying it, and I was like, I like it. It's nice. And I tried a VAD 706 a little bit, and it's like pretty much the same. It's like there's not a huge difference between the two, just different module. One has a TD27, the other has a TD50, but the sounds inside are pretty much like the same. So you can't. The only difference is that there's more settings on one than the other, and there's more inputs on the back and whatever. But I kept like the Strata Prime kept popping up, popping up, popping up, and I'm like, there's nowhere that I could try one, and I was like, man, I wish I could try one of those. So I kept looking online and looking at the different Long and McQuaid's and like looking at the different cities, and some of them had some in stock. So Charlottetown, PEI had one in stock, and I was like, I called and I was like, do you have it on display? And they're like, no, we had one on display, we sold it, but we got another one in. And I was like, oh man, I wish it was on display. I'd go up and I want to try one because I'm really looking into. I'm gonna buy an e-kit eventually soon. And it's either gonna be a Roland or an Alesis because I see the reviews on it are amazing. And the Strata Prime, I was like, this sounds like so amazing because it's a fraction of the price of a Roland flagship kit, and you get everything, and it's like you get more pieces, like there's more to it, and it looks great. It's a great looking drum on pictures anyway. I'd never seen one in person, so they set one up for me, and I'm not always staring at the camera. I'm not good at this YouTube thing just yet. And yeah, I called them and I asked them if they could, like, no, they recommend, they were like, we're gonna set one up for you if you want to come. We'll set it up just for you, just so you can come try it. So I was like, yeah, man, I'll go. So I went the next day, and I tried it, and I'm like, this is awesome. This works really, really good. And the module, like the sounds are just like amazing. Like they blow the Roland sounds right out of the water, right stock. You don't have to do anything with it. You just it's BFD right inside of the module. And the hi-hat, I was like, virtual hi-hat or magnetic hi-hat, and I tried the virtual hi-hat on the Roland, and I was like, that works good. It's still not a real hi-hat because I've been playing on a real hi-hat now for like, I don't know, 20 years straight. And there's really not much difference. Like I find the Alesis magnetic hi-hat is just as responsive as the Roland virtual hi-hat. And I'm just like, I'm not like a super really good drummer. So for me, with the price difference, for me, it made more sense to go with the Alesis because it's a bit cheaper. But like, it's a better sounding kit. Like what do you do with that? Like, so I wrestled with myself because I'm like, man, this is a big investment, and it took me like a couple months after that, and I was like, do I really need this? Like, I have drums already. And I was like, well, I'm getting tired of hearing myself slam on the acoustic drums all the time. And I'm pretty sure my neighbors are probably kind of tired of hearing me. So I was like, I was praying and I was like, God, what do I do? I heard this voice. I know this is like superficial materialistic stuff, right? Like, God doesn't care about any of this stuff. It's just stuff. Like, when I die, I'm not gonna bring this with me. And but voice dropped in my head is like, pull the trigger, get that Alesis kit. And like 4 months before this, I was like wanting to buy. I found one for $5,000. It was a VAD 506, and I really liked it. But that's all the money that I had. Like I would have put all my eggs in that basket, and that would have stressed me out a little bit, because then you're like you have no savings. You just bought a used kit, drum kit, and have no time to play it because you're gonna have to work all the time to get more savings. I like to have money saved up. Ever since I got sober, I'm like, I never used to be able to save money, and now I can. So I always like to have this cushion. So I saved up as much as I could, so that if I spend the amount of money on this drum kit, that I would still have a cushion on top of that. And when I was gonna buy that rolling kit, I actually went outside and I prayed to God, and God was like, "No, you have to wait. You wait some more." And I was like, "Oh man!" Felt like I was missing out on a good deal, but I was like, "No," so I didn't buy it. And like the next day, buddy sold it, and I was like, "Oh!" And anyways, I got that out of my mind. I was like, forgot about it. Forget about it. And I went out, and I always go out in the woods and I chat with the Lord. And he talks back, and had a chat about it. And he said, "You just wait. I got something better for you. Just stay patient. Just be patient. And I know you need this tool. It's a tool for you to practice more, and don't feel like you're bothering anybody, and you can just go and practice your rudiments, practice paradiddles, practice patterns, and just practice and have fun, and just like whenever you want, middle of the morning, middle of the night, middle of the afternoon, 6 in the morning, who cares? You can go. And yeah, and here we are. Pretty stoked. Pretty freaking stoked. So that's the story behind this. So I haven't owned an E-kit in, man, I sold that old Roland, and not to diss on Roland or anything, they make great product. I sold that TD6, and that was like their flagship back in like 2004 or 5 or 6 or whatever. And if I'm not mistaken, I had to check with the guy who, he probably still has it and probably still uses it, and it's probably still works. So, and I'm not sure if this thing here will last 20 years. Who knows? But I was willing to take the chance, because I looked at it. I looked at the build quality, and it seems really good. So I'm taking the chance. It's a first generation product. Sometimes some people say stay away from a first generation product, but I've waited since it came out. I started being aware of it, and I waited around it's been out for like 6-7 months now. So, and the reviews are still all great about it. So I couldn't wait any longer. So here it is. Now time to set this bad boy up. Cheers, peace, and bless you. How do I look? How do I actually look right into the camera? It's a side camera. It's impossible. Anyways, peace.